Welcome back, my friend. Kris Krohn here. Today we are talking about how do you crunch numbers on a deal? Like, people ask me all the time, Kris, how do I know if this is a good deal, right? If it's good, I'm gonna make a lot of money. If it's bad, I could lose my shirt. How do I keep that from happening?
'Cause we're gonna be legends. What we're doing here ain't just scary. It's about to be legendary.
I brought the expert in, the big guns. Tyler Bennett is here with me today to explain performance. We're gonna talk about crunching numbers. Dude, thanks for being here.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me, Kris.
So, dude, listen, I know that you've come prepared today to share with us some of your performance, but I'm not gonna lie, they freaking look scary at first. I mean, come here, dude, look at this. Do you see all the numbers on that? It can't even all fit on one page. So someone looks at that and they're like, oh no, I have to be a scientist and a PhD nerd to figure out what this thing is telling me. Reality is, I actually make all my decisions based on one number, and we're gonna give that to you at the end of this video. But let's pause and make this real first. Like, what are the big things that people need to look at when actually crunching the numbers to actually know if a deal is good or bad?
Yep. So you've got a few key numbers you want to look at. Purchase price, obviously. Location, what's the address, neighborhood, all of those things. But rents, so what's coming in, what's going out. So rents, expenses, and then what's the end number? So what's the net cash flow from that number? And all of that wraps into a return on your investment.
It sounds to me almost just like a business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I start a business, it has a value. I hope that I build it up to a certain value, and when I sell it, I can make a chunk of money. But along the way, I've got money coming in, I've got money going out. What do I keep along the way?
Exactly.
And real estate is really just the same.
Yeah. What do you have available for operating capital, right? That's that cash flow to service the debt that you have on it.
And do you need to know like trigonometry and geometry and calculus to be able to do
No,
this?
not by any means.
This is like fifth grade math, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like a lot of numbers, but frankly, a lot of those extra numbers that you see in these documents are basically to say, have we calculated every last penny on things that are important? And we're gonna share with you how to make this stupid simple, but really it just comes down to these big picture items.
Yeah, and a lot of people go wrong, or you go on Google and you look up all these different pro formas. They're all so different because people, one, try to make them more attractive than they really need to be,
Right.
really should be. And then it comes down to the assumptions. It's what's behind these numbers.
Yes.
What are they assuming the vacancy rate is?
Right.
What are they assuming the interest rate is on the mortgage, or the down payment percentage, or the property management fees, or the growth? All these different numbers. We could have the same house and we could look at 10 different pro formas, but if the assumptions are different.
Dude, check this out. I want you to get this. What Tyler's talking about is this confirmation bias. If you hate real estate, then when you have numbers presented, you're going to believe in the lowest and worst number. If you are positive and keen on real estate, you're going to want to be aggressive and look at the biggest number. And so it's interesting, right? I mean, you look at the market and you're like, oh yeah, I think the market's going to go up like 20% this year. Just imagine if it happened for 5 years, I'd make 100% of my money. Like, that's what an overexcitable person does. And I can tell you, in my life, I'm a super positive human being, but when it comes to crunching numbers, I actually kind of put on my pessimistic skeptic hat that says, give me reality. I don't want to be biased by my positivity, and I also don't want it to be skewed by unnecessary negativity. I just want to know, what is real?
Yeah, zero emotions.
Yep.
Right? Remove all the emotions. What are the real numbers, and what's a realistic expectation for this house? Then let's go sell based off of realistic expectations.
Yep.
Let's not go and try to turn this house that we shouldn't be selling and make it look so much better than it's really supposed to look.
So listen, in a moment, we're going to put a performa on a live actual deal going down right now as we speak. But before I do, let's just bring this point home. Number one, what is a home worth? A home is only worth what someone's willing to pay. So if I can buy a house for 140 and I'm like, oh, I did a comparable market analysis through the realtor and I think it's worth 160. I have $20,000 of equity. You should scrutinize that number and say, how real is that CMA? Is it really based on enough comps in comparables, right? In close enough proximity. Now, by the way, if you're watching this, you're like, you guys are hurting my brain with all this real estate lingo. Subscribe, my friend. Subscribe and always check out the links below. Get my books. I provide all these free resources because you need to become a financial ninja. If you expect to make $1 million or $10 million in real estate, then you need to understand some of these basics. So stick with it. Bottom line, though, is I don't want an inflated number that makes me feel good. And same thing on like rents. Go to a property manager and find out, wow, these 20 homes in this area all rent for $1,300 a month. Let's not pretend it's going to be $1,400.
Yeah. Don't ask the person trying to sell you the property what it's going to rent for.
Oh, they're gonna
Ask the person you can hold accountable what it's going to rent for.
Well, and so that's kind of an interesting game because you've got realtors, you've got loan officers. What does a loan officer want? They want to write a loan. They're financially incentivized to write a loan. So if you were to ask them like, hey, do you think this is a good deal? What are they going to say?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Whatever will get the deal done. You ask a realtor if it's a good deal. And listen, and I'm not saying these people are bad. It's just at the end of the day, you got to understand that a lot of individuals, they're incentivized by what drives and motivates them. This house is for you. It's not for them. They're going to do whatever it takes to actually get you that house. So we've got to find a way to get non-biased information. By the way, at the end of this video, you have an opportunity to click the link and get this book for free. Do you know what it teaches you how to do? How to evaluate properties. It'll actually show you how to do a CMA, a comparable market analysis, know what something is worth, and it'll show you how to be as objective as possible and remove your emotional bias so that you can look at it without emotion like Tyler said. Yeah. So that's a gift. Listen, cover shipping and I send this in the mail to you. It's a free gift. It's a tool so that you can crush it. But back to the story, right?
Yeah.
Like, let's look at an actual deal. And now I think people are prepared to not get so scared by what they're about to see, because at first it looks like a lot of numbers, but I want you to break this down.
Okay, so first we start with the address, right? Where's this house located? This one happens to be in the Orlando market in Point Siena, Florida.
By the way, the person that buys this house, do they live in Orlando?
No.
They most likely live where?
Not Florida.
Not Florida,
yeah.
Right? So this is an out-of-state purchase because Florida is such a hot market.
Yeah.
What else are you looking at here?
Okay. Let's just look at the house. Year built. So year built, square foot, bedroom, bathroom. Of course, condition goes into that.
It's a
right?
nice house.
We don't necessarily see condition on a spreadsheet or a pro forma, but it's important to know what is the condition of this house, because that's one of the assumptions that's behind the scenes when we're forecasting ongoing maintenance, repairs, or something we have to do to get it rent ready, which all those numbers are in here on our pro forma.
So let's break those down, because listen, if you're watching this, I want you to know that all of the information we're sharing with you, you want to have a comfort zone with all of it, because if you have all of this information and it's accurate and unbiased, then you can make a decision based on the one number I promised to show you at this end of this video. Not only do you have the book as a free bonus, but I'm going to show you the number that I use to determine whether this is a yes, pull the trigger, I'm buying this, or heck no, I am absolutely not going to do it. So break it all down.
Purchase price. What can we buy it for? Down payment. How much are we putting down? This
20%.
assumes a 20% down payment. What are the estimated closing costs for the mortgage, including all the prepaid items, everything that goes into getting that? Rehab expenses. So what is it going to take to have this property rent ready?
Dude, check this out. On the outside, this looks like a really pretty house.
I don't have to do anything.
But what we know from the property management rehab report is that $5,500 is probably going to be carpet and paint and some light updating.
Yeah, and hopefully because those items are needed, we're getting the house for a better price, because that might turn off somebody who's buying as a primary residence.
100%.
And we can go do that for cheaper than probably anybody else can.
Okay.
Okay. Acquisition fee. So this is the fee that we charge in order to use the system to buy the houses.
All these experts out there that are researching, finding the deal, managing the rehab teams, processes, everything goes into that.
So we get this $51,495.
So that's basically the all-in. Like,
yes,
$5,100 should basically say everything's covered.
Buy the asset, stabilize the asset. Now we're in cruise control.
And now you're going to need to know that, because if you know your all-in number, you now can calculate, oh, every year that property is going to give me some money. And I want to know how much is it giving me? It's a percentage of what I put in. So it's called a cash-on-cash return, which you'll see in a minute, which is I put all this out, now what are you going to give me? And in the long haul, what are you going to give me?
Yep. So let's look at now what's coming in. Okay, we know $51,000 is going out. Monthly rent, $1,495.
Okay.
Principal and interest is $762. We put 20% down, we finance the 80%. That's the principal and interest. We know the monthly taxes, $233, insurance $67. So $1,062 is the monthly payment I'm making to finance this property and pay the taxes and insurance.
So I basically have almost $1,500 coming in and I have $1,062 going out. That looks like there's like $440 or $430 left over every single month.
Correct.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's important to understand what happens with that $430. Well, there's a few things we have to pay with that. One is a property manager.
Yes.
So over here in these assumptions, we know that the property manager for this particular house is 6%, which is below market rate. It's good.
Pause.
Yeah.
Like, you guys need to understand this. Like, property managers charge 10%. When Tyler says 6%, that's based on a relationship where we're doing hundreds of properties with this team. And as a result, they give us something that nobody else does. By the way, in real estate, you win with volume. And if you guys get that at the end of this video, some of you like have just found like the turnkey solution for doing all your investing needs is we represent volume and bulk. And that's important to notice.
Yeah, and you'll see on it on other examples, it's anywhere from 6 to 10%, depending on the market, location, the property managers. This particular one is awesome. You have all these other assumptions. Down payment we talked about, closing costs, interest rate for a mortgage. Typically our clients are getting slightly better than this. Again, we want to err on being conservative. Vacancy and repairs. So this is important. We have 8% in there, but we have the ability to track. We know exactly how many of our 12-month leases renewed last year.
Yep.
And the ones that didn't, we know how many days on market it was. We know how much ongoing maintenance is happening, and we have the ability to look at actuals instead of just kind of
These aren't
guess
random
what it's
numbers
going
just
to be.
kind of like picked out of the air.
So we're saying you've got to allocate 8% of that $14.95 every single month towards future repairs and maintenance.
Yep.
And then we have these appreciation numbers in here. So we're saying for the next 2 years, we anticipate this house to go up 8%. Then for the years 3 through 5, 6%. After year 6, 3%.
But how does this compare to the actual reports? Like, we pay gobs of money to the experts that are analyzing markets nationwide. Where's this number in relation to their predictions?
So those guys typically project higher than what we're showing here.
Yep.
And then we also go back and we review our actuals for our actual product, because the Orlando market could appreciate 7%, but our product could appreciate 9%, or vice versa, right? So we want to understand our product inside of the market as well. Last year, for example, in 2019, we saw about a 9% increase in appreciation.
Now check it
So
out.
we exceeded what we thought.
Right up until now, the first top half, this should all be kind of common sense numbers. Like, this is the information you need if you want to crunch the numbers and know what you've got on a deal. We're not going to go into this. Below you see things like, well, what does gross rent look like year 1 through year 10, taxes, insurance, HOA, vacancies, repairs. But all of those numbers are substantiated. The number that I want to get to today is that if you have all of your numbers itemized out, what you can do is come to this box right here. And Tyler, go ahead and just explain what this ROI means.
So cash on cash, return on investment is very simple. It's what's the net cash flow that I got for year 1, divide that into my total outlay, so the $51,000, what percentage is that? Our 5-year average is 7.63%.
Now, by the way, that is an awesome cash on cash. Remember that 401ks and IRAs are often doing, on average, 4 or 5%. This is 7.6%, and it's in the form of money, as in like you can eat it, you can go spend it, I can go buy something, I go to the movies.
Yeah.
That, and if you look at over year 7 and 10, that number only gets bigger and bigger.
Correct. And then you add on the principal reduction.
Because
So
every payment you're
paying
the house
down. Yeah, I call it deferred cash flow, because
And
it's
you're gonna
your
get it back.
money. You're guaranteed to get it back. When you sell that house, you're going to owe less than when you started. And so that number is close to 12%. 11.86% goes to 13, 15, almost 16% on the 10-year average.
Now this is where it gets crazy though. The reason why people get into real estate is because you want to own a hard asset. You want it to pay you every single month ideally. You want it to give you tax benefits. And you want it to increase in value. That's called appreciation. And in a market like this, out of the top 324 markets, this is the number 1 market. And with that 8%, what that translates to is what in the 5-year ROI.
So this says if you were to sell this year 5 and it appreciated at that level that we projected, and there's closing costs to sell a house, and it's a realistic assumption that your annualized return would be 31.32%.
So by the way, that's over 5 years. So 31 plus 31 plus 31 plus 31 plus 31. That's 155%. So that's averaging 31%. No bank accounts doing that. No 401ks doing that. No IRAs doing that. The stock market isn't doing that. And we get real estate to sing this way, whether it's pre-2008, whether it's during the Great Recession of post-2008 through 2012, or whether it's in the economy right now that we're doing. So, I mean, bottom line, we crunched the numbers, and I told you at the end of this video that I would tell you how I make my decisions. And I'm gonna tell you right now, all of that math factors into this number right here. If this number is greater than 25%, then I will buy it every single time. My team has been inside, they've viewed the property, the neighborhood, its track record, everything, I'm gonna buy it. Now, by the way, if you're not Kris Krohn, you might buy a property that has a 20% annual ROI. That would be awesome. I have really high standards. Some people can't even figure out how to get a 10% return in real estate based on their backyard or having never been a landlord before or trying to figure out how to deal with negative cash flows. This is some of the cream of the crop real estate that's out there. Today's video is really just about saying, don't be afraid by a pro forma, look at crunching the numbers, and it's simple. You buy low, you sell high. What are you getting compared to what you put in? And there's a ratio. And at the end of the day, there's expenses. Money comes in, money goes out. What's left over is a cash on cash return. So now I can know my total appreciation growth and I can know my cash on cash. The tax benefits on top of that are just like a sick bonus. If you get here to the end of this video and you're like, all right, this is sweet, Kris. You said that you'll show me how to crunch the numbers in this book for free. So go ahead and download it, it's yours. I also told you that if you want to have an opportunity to speak with a member of my team for free and evaluate numbers for you, click the link below. My team stands ready and prepared to serve you and help you figure out how to make the most intelligent moves in the game of real estate. Even if the first move is, I don't know what I'm doing, because we all start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Tyler, you're buying properties left and right, man. You're out there killing it. And I want to thank you for being here today to actually break down pro forma crunching numbers. It looks intimidating at first, but guys, come out to our live events. Tyler breaks it down. You can learn the stuff. You can read about it in my book. The resources are free and endless. Use them, learn how to do this, and start winning in ways that everyone wishes they were, because you got one life to live. Live big.